This is Ian from Lean Media, and I'm kind of continuing my review of Amazon product insert from other companies and basically highlighting things that they're doing right and things that they're doing wrong. This is a product, like many products, it's made in China. The quality is really, really good. We like this product a lot. When we got the product, it came with a product insert, and there's some things that work well, there's some things that don't work well. I just wanted to talk about that a little bit because as an Amazon seller, I'm pretty experienced with using product inserts for my own products, but also kind of learning from others to see what they're doing right and maybe what they're doing wrong. So there's a couple things that are good about this particular product insert. Like there's a lot of information on the product. There's some kind of, there's like a kind of a stamp from an industry association, another standard brand here, which basically helps to reinforce the idea that this is a quality product, validate that it's a quality product. Certainly having information is useful, but one thing I'd like to point out, I mean, this text is practically impossible to read. Like it's a chart basically showing the blanket weight versus body weight, but it's just too tiny. The other thing that I've noticed throughout this particular insert is that the English is not fluent. I'm not sure how they created it. I'm going to show you something interesting on the back panel of this insert, but it basically suggests that whoever created this just needs to do a better job proofing it or copy editing it. And by the way, people who can do that, by all means, you can, if you want to, you can use Google Translate or some other tool to translate from one language to another, but definitely get like a native speaker to look it over just to make sure it looks okay, and hire somebody if necessary. There's tons of platforms for that. Anyways, is right for you. So obviously that's not standard fluent English. So things like that should have been corrected before this made it to print. The other thing is that this particular insert, it basically starts on the back and then goes this way, but it should be flipped around. So it's possible that the people who printed this just weren't experienced with the way that printing works for something like this, the way that a kind of a fold over type of brochure works. So they should have talked with their print shop about that. It's also possible that because this is manufactured in China, and sometimes books in China they do go from back to front, but they also go the other way as well. So, but whatever the case, that should have been addressed. There's some other printing problems too, like usually you don't have the margin this close to the edge of the document. One thing you may notice for this particular part of it is that it's really difficult to read. It's like kind of a small white font, kind of a off-white font maybe on a like a light blue background. It's really super hard to read that. So when you're printing text, I had another example of this insert. Make it dark text on a white background rather than white text on a kind of a mid-range background. That's really hard to see what it is. One thing I also wanted to say, the product photography is excellent. Like they did a really good job with that, as well as these graphics, but the text is too small. And then there's that there's the problem with this text being nearly impossible to read. You can see that this is a lot easier to read because it's a dark text on a lighter background. One other thing I wanted to say about this particular brand, they put this kind of personal story on the back, and I see a lot of that on these inserts. And certainly, for the inserts for my own products, I put my company's story on that, my brand story on that. Sometimes they're convincing, like this one. This is like a small company, and we value quality, et cetera, et cetera. This one just comes across as a completely bogus story. I'm going to read the beginning of it. My name is Grace, but Mom loved to call me Gracie. I was born in a small town in Texas. I have 3 brothers and sisters. I am the youngest. My father is an engineer. When I was 16 years old, he came to China for work. I followed him to China and continued my studies in China. And then this person says that they decided to become an Amazon seller based on having some connections in China. It just doesn't ring true at all. I just think it's kind of people reading this, people in the United States at least, will be a little bit skeptical of the story. Also, the English is not perfect. So, if you're going to have a story, please try to make it authentic. If you can't make it authentic, at least just try not to insert things that are easily either suspicious or easily disprovable. And in this case, this just doesn't seem real. I mean, it doesn't affect my opinion of the product, which is very good, but the likelihood of me leaving a positive review is goes down a lot. Like if I leave any review at all, I'm going to say, what's up with this strange story on the back about being a teenager moving from Texas to China and then getting into the Amazon selling business. But anyways, if I were to do this product again, definitely I would flip the printing from starting here rather than starting on the rear. Photographs are excellent. I would get rid of this light blue background with text printed on it, and I would be concentrating on darker text on a white background. I'd be blowing up the size of the text, and then I would definitely not be including a very unusual and suspicious looking personal story like this. If make it believable or make it generic in a way that people can live with it. But this just raises questions. It doesn't really give me confidence in the brand in the way that in the way that I think the brand thought that it might help.